Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Revelations of a Ranting Sheep. I'm your girl Lahoma, and I've just spent some time looking at myself and this camera, like my hair looking crazy. I'm in no spirit to get dressed. I was just speaking with Howie and telling her that I did not record yet. It is the middle of the week, and she's like, "What are you waiting for?" And she right, what am I waiting for? But the truth is, I don't know if it's a matter of me not wanting to. I'm sick of talking about these people. Some of them, which is interesting because I feel like when it comes to the conversation of relationships, honey, I'm dragging a chair and I'm sitting in on that every time. So it's really interesting to see the energy that is taking me to propel myself to get in front of this camera. Um, and I'm also wondering if it has anything to do with the fact that I'm also kind of making some modifications in my life and my apartment and all of this. So I don't know really what's happening. All I know is that every time Sunday rolls around, which is my day to record, I'm just like, don't want to talk about this. Um, but I think a lot. And my thought is, even though I don't work for a company anymore, um, I've had days where I did not want to go to work. And when I went to work, guess what? I gave it everything that I could. So how dare I, now that I'm doing something for me, not that I'm getting compensated, but it's something that I do enjoy. I enjoy to just come here and talk. I am not going to give myself 100%, child. Unacceptable. And we do this a lot. We never want to show up for ourselves the way we show up for others or other things. So here I am. I mean, it was going to get out anyway, right? And I kept thinking to myself, maybe I will do a video on Friday, and whatever it is goes out raw, no editing or nothing. But here I am. Child, not with it at all. And even like editing, I've been I noticed that I wore a sweater, like the same sweater twice. And there's nothing wrong with that. But in the same season, shorty, I really like it just shows me where my energy is. And I just love that it's showing up on camera for me. Cause um going back to them, it just highlights to me things of myself that I'm not able to pick up on at times, um, being that I am me. Like nobody, I don't have no twin to tell me what is going on. Okay. Y'all, I love to turn a glass bottle into a drinking um, bottle for my water. Ooh, and just wait. Look, this is, oof. I love doing that. So let's go straight into it. I'm not trying to make this long. It's Wednesday, and I have to rebuild energy for whoever I have to talk about next week, which I think I know who it is. That one is going to be a long video. So be forewarned, that one is going to be a long video, maybe. Let me just, anyways, I'm not going to confirm now. You see, I'm just, anyways. Ooh, girl, I do not like it. I'm just not feeling it. Jumping in, jumping in. All right. Um, this next gentleman that I am going to talk about, I met in my early 20s. So this was the relationship that I had um, after my high school sweetheart. So as you already been able to notice, I've been jumping back and forth. Um, so nothing is in sequential order. Met him when I was 20 on a dating site, uh, Plenty of Fish. Yes, I believe it was on Plenty of Fish. And handsome dude. Um, things moved very quickly. And I think it had to do with the fact that I was fresh out of this 3-year relationship. Well, fresh enough, because actually, yeah, I broke up with my high school sweetheart in 2008. Um, can't remember if it was early 2008 or what, but I do know that I met this person um, later. So I met them like maybe October of 2008. Um, actually, oh yeah. It was October. Wait, it was November. It was November 2008 because the reason I'm able to pinpoint it is because um, my grandfather passed away almost around, I think it was on the same day, just the following year. Okay, meet him on the website. Um, we went on a date, I would say about a week later. Um, because this was my first time this was my first time going on a date. This is my first time being on a website. This was my first, like, you're not trying to get abducted. So um, I remember my aunt being in town um, and making sure that my mom saw what I was wearing. She knew where I was going. She knew who I was going with. And I also made sure that we met on 42nd Street where it's nice and crowded, just in case anything pops off. So he took me on the red, what is it called? The Red Cruise boat ride on 42nd Street, 12 Highway, 12th Street High, or yeah, 12th Street, 12th Avenue Highway, whatever it's called over there by I was about to say the Titanic. That's too funny. By the Intrepid. I always call it the Titanic. Um, a place that I frequently worked at. Um, so we went there. It was different, so that was cute or whatever. And we was just really like it just sparked really quickly. We ended up going to Olive Garden on 42nd Street. That's not 42nd Street, but 7th Avenue. Um, and I remember like feeding him, which, you know, I don't necessarily mind sharing utensils with people, but like I have to know you, right? And here I am just feeding this man. It was just one of those movie moments um, where everything was just going right. So uh, thereafter, um, we kind of constantly talking with each other. He was previously enlisted in the, I want to say Air Force. He was in some branch of the military. Definitely was in Marines, definitely was in Navy, definitely was in Army. I'm gonna go with Air Force. Even though thinking about it, it's like, Air Force, how could he be in the Air Force? But neither here nor there. Do I look, oh, okay. So he was in a branch of the military. He was no longer in it when we met. He worked at this furniture store, and I remember like going to him. It probably only happened once, actually. Maybe when I went to him to like take him lunch and stuff like that. Just really like cutesy type of things. However, so let me start with all the red flags. He did not believe in God, because of what happened with him with the military, the manner in which he was kicked out, um, and he was hoping that they would take him back. So that was something that he was struggling with. Um, and I remember us having conversations where he asked, like, if he does get re-enlisted, would I be willing to go with him to Montana? And I'm like, Montana? I don't even think at this point, I don't even know where Montana is. I'm like, let me look up this place. But honey, I was like, if things go positively and we get married, sure. And he looks at me and he's like, married? Now, this is not verbatim. This was years ago, over 10 years ago. And he was like, married. Then he was like, oh, hey, like, I don't mind getting married. Like, it's not a big deal, because if it doesn't work out, then we could just get a divorce and that's it. And I'm like, ooh, red flag, red flag. That's how you treat in marriage? Oh, it's not working out, so I'm gonna just get a divorce and that's it, child. So that was the second red flag. The first one was, I don't believe in God, because if he was real, he would have never allowed me to get kicked out or whatever it is. Which I'm just like, I don't want to make this video long, yo, but like the fact that people refuse to take responsibility for their actions, it just it slowly, positive words as much as possible, it slowly draws energy out of me, because you do what you do, and because you prayed, because I'm assuming he prayed, and the Lord didn't answer your prayer in the way that you wanted him to, which means you're using him as a genie. You're not really saying, I'm surrendering to your decision. You're saying, this is what I want and give it to me now. And he is the Lord. You ain't the Lord. He ain't your servant. You're his servant. And because the prayer is not answered in the manner in which you want it to be answered, now all of a sudden he's not real. Like, what what whatever happened to, I did this thing and I knew the repercussions to doing this thing, and so I am praying in hopes that, in humbling myself, I would not be kicked out. But if I do, then I eat that because I deserve it, because I knew better. Whatever happened to that? Like, people, we really childish. And I've said it before, I've said, and I'll probably continue saying it, but we need to grow up. Okay. So anyways, so now you don't believe in God because he didn't allow you to stay in the military, even though you're the one who got yourself kicked out. You don't believe, um, clearly you don't believe in marriage. You have, which I guess, right? You, it's just this thing like, oh yeah, we could do it. And if it don't work, yeah, okay, get the boy. It's whatever. Like, okay. Then the conversations start to get um, more intimate, right? We get to know each other a little bit more, and things start to come out, and I'm just like, what am I dealing with right now? This man has so many issues, and I'm not even going to touch on the minute issues. However, he also, another red flag, um, was the fact that he had, I didn't categorize it as this, I'm categorizing it that way now, but he had an immense pornography addiction and just sexual addiction, like, or sex addiction, whatever. Um, like, it was like, every, like, we have our urges and stuff, but that thing was on a different level. I'm talking can't function, and this is how, because that's the meaning of addiction. Like, you can, maybe you watch porn or whatever, um and you go to work and you do your thing or whatever, but when you cannot, when whatever actions are keeping you from being able to still be a productive citizen, a productive human being in your everyday life, because of whatever whatever your situation is. In his situation, it was sex and pornography. Now we have an issue. I'm talking, a mother will be next door and you're in the living room, a space that has to be passed through to leave the apartment, a space that um, that can be um, entered through the living room, or a space that you can, what did I just say? A space that could be entered. The kitchen had two entrances. So in the living room, you can come through the kitchen or go through the other way. Like, you're real open, right? And I'm assuming it's because that's where the computer was and everything. And I remember him just answering the phone once, watching. I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, he's watching porn and just jerking off. And I'm like, you answer the phone? Like, I'm in my 20s though. So this is like my first time being exposed to this level of addiction. And I'm just like, I already know I know it's a problem, but because it's not something that has a spotlight on it, it's like, also, I'm seeing this red flag as a yellow flag, as a concern, right? Instead of nah, you need to stop talking to this man now. Big mistake. So, well, let me kind of attach more to that. It was a big mistake because, obviously, as you can assume, um, sex became a big deal for this man. Like, he stopped being attracted to me little by little because he thought me not having sex with him was just like oh, we just started talking type of thing. Eventually we're gonna do it. And when I was like, nah, I'm away for marriage, it was just like oh, what? And it just became such an issue for him, such an issue, to where we broke up. Man, that relationship didn't go very far, which no relationship past my primary um, school years, like after my high school sweetheart, after, I just told myself, I am not going to waste my time in a relationship anymore. Like, if it's not going according to, like, if it doesn't make sense in my body, in my spirit, in my mind, I'm not gonna waste my time and go over a year with you. It's just not gonna happen. And I have kept that. Now I've had people who I've been talking to for a while, but you ain't my man. And whoever I want to talk to, I could talk to. Um, but yeah. So I think I was maybe with him, like we talked for um we were in a relationship for I think maybe 6 months. I can't honestly, the details of that situation is so whew, it's so limited. Um but I do know that even though we had broken up, because we had broken up several times, because he's just like, oh, I'm not sure. And I'm just like, okay, well, since you're not sure, you could go. And he's like, oh, but I don't want to break up with you. And I'm just like, well, not breaking up means cheating. And that's also not something that's going to happen. So if you're not happy here, then you can go somewhere else. Like, I don't need to talk to you. We could be friends. And so we probably broke up and got back together like mm, twice, maybe 3 times. And it was always the same thing. Now, the last time we got back together, um, it was about like emotionally, it felt very like I knew I was done with it, but I'm also someone I can't, I'm not sure if I'm still that way, because I haven't had the same type of, how do I explain it? Like, you have a certain type of mentality when you're a child in dating versus when you're an adult in dating. So I'm not really too sure if I see things the same way, but I know that I have not um, felt like how I used to feel when I was younger, which was, even though I know there's nothing here, I have to stick around and play out this chapter until it comes to a fizzle. Like, it has to, like the fire has to be like completely dead, like dead. You can't even, there's no spark, nothing, nothing, nothing. Like, I always had to do that in relationships. So even though I already knew like, oh, this ain't it, I still have to be with him to drain the juice out of it, which is so, oh my goodness, this is the worst thing. But that was my journey, and I did it. And so the last time that he came around, he had a little help from a friend of mine who was also communicating with me about the entire matter. So he thought he was doing something spontaneous, and in reality, we already knew what was going. I already knew what was going on. So that happened. We spent the entire day together. It was on a Sunday. because he ended up coming to my church. And it's crazy because, well, it's not crazy. Anyways, I'm just having current thoughts of like, you don't believe in God, but you want to talk to me, but you know this is a big part of my life and I'm not going to let it go. So why are you still here? And if you come to win me over, why don't you just come to the, like, why don't you, anyways, I'm not going to do this on video. So we spent the entire day together, and just did some things, went to Target. He picked up some things from whomever or for himself. I don't know. I can't remember. I do want to say though, and this has really nothing to do with the story per se, but I just want to shout out his sister. Dan, should I say her name? Angie. Um, she ain't gonna watch this, but I love, like, out of all of my relationships, his sister, man, his sister and his best friend. Um, should I shout her out? Daisy. I really appreciated both of them. Um, Angie and Daisy, like, it really made me sad when, because even after the breakup, I still stayed in contact with his sister. And, you know, I think I used to go over her house and everything. But then at some point, I started thinking to myself, like, I wonder, like, should I be doing this? I'm setting myself up because what if I see him at the apartment? You know, it's gonna be awkward. And I'm not I just, I don't know, it just seemed wrong for me to continue being for me to continue communications with his sister. I didn't continue with the best friend, but I did love and appreciate her as an acquaintance. Like, that girl, Daisy, Daisy, a real one. Okay. She's a real one. That's all I have to say. Like, I just really appreciated her being his friend. Like, it was a pleasant experience. And also with his sister, um, she was dope. And I very with a heavy heart, oh my goodness, with a heavy heart, I had to disconnect myself from her. And because I was a kid, I did it so wrong. Like, I literally just ghosted her. Like, I just changed my number, stopped calling her, stopped texting her, and all of that. Because I just didn't have the guts. And I wish I didn't do that. But well, at that point, I was 21. Was I 21? Girl, let me do the math. Because I know I said but I met him at 20, but my birthday, that was November. My birthday is in March. So I don't know if I turned 21 or if I actually met him at 19 and then turned 20 the following year. What's the math on that? Oh, child, I don't got time. Look, I don't got time to be using my brain. What was it? I told y'all, 2008, yes. Um, how old was I? Ooh. So I met him at 19. He was a year older than me. Um, so I met him at 19, and then I turned 20 the following year. Okay. Good to know, or not good to know, but a good refresher. Um, all right, um, so yeah, I was 20 years old when I ghosted her. Um, I wasn't at all the mature woman that I am today. First of all, I don't even know if I would have walked away from that today because I really did like her. Um, but even if I did, it definitely would have not been it would not have been a ghosting situation. I definitely would have explained the situation to her, and I think she would have understood. Like I just, ooh, Angie, I think about you ever so often. I don't think about you a whole lot, but trust me, you are definitely still in my thoughts here and there. Um, yeah, I love me some Angie. Aw, I hope her daughter is doing well and her son. I think she had, yeah, I think because I remember like giving her a baby shower gift. Yeah. Aw. Hope Daisy's doing well too. I work around where she used to live. And it's funny, I would definitely, I feel strong in that I will recognize Angie's face, but I don't know if I will recognize Daisy's face. But I hope that she recognizes me if she ever sees me and says, "What's up?" Dang. It's really just, and I'm gonna come back to the story, but it's really just sad when you meet someone who's like not uh, somebody that you can see spending your life with, but they come with dope people. Like that's what I want. Like I want my husband to not just be amazing himself, but to have an amazing community that comes with him. Like I want that more than anything. Like come with a great community, bro. Like don't come over here with, because I already have, when it comes to family, I already have one that needs work. I want my children to be part of something that is more functional, extremely more functional than what I have. Um, so yeah, miss those ladies for sure. All right. So um, to keep this to the point, he comes back, um, and I don't believe it was that exact day, or maybe it was. I guess it doesn't matter. I do know my mom had to work, but she really liked him. Um, so the serious relationships that I have had, which I don't really want to consider him a serious relationship, but he does hold some weight. Um, um, for his own reasons. Those are the same boys that my mom also really liked. So the one from junior high school liked. You know what? I'll take that back because she did not like my high school sweetheart at all. At all, at all. She was just not here for that boy. Um, and you know what? I get it now that I'm older and perhaps we'll have children one day. I get it. Won't go into that anymore. So anyways, but this one, she really did like this one. Charming, not more charming than the ex-fiance, but definitely charming and good to be around. He was actually the first boy that I ever kissed in front of her. Ever. And I think the second would be the uh, the ex fiance. Um, but wow. That's crazy to even think about. And when it happened, I kind of freaked out, but she didn't say anything. So um let me get into it. Um there was a so she had to work. There was a day that she had to work, and my mom worked the graveyard shift at a nursing home. And he came over just to hang out, and he gets super touchy, super, super touchy. And I, of course, allowed it. And he ended up, we did not have sex. As you already know, I lost my virginity to, or I gave my virginity. Thank you, Kahawi. You was in my head. I gave my virginity to, I was about to say his name, to my ex fiance. Um, but I believe in talking about that story, I explained that I had to tell this man why he didn't see any blood or anything. And it was because of this young man years before who basically decided that he was going to, um, I don't want to make this video too, I don't want to, um, um, restrict it to a certain age. So I'm going to try to be as PG as possible. But he was the one who broke the charity. I think that should be PG enough. Um, he broke it uh, with his fingers, and without telling me, without saying anything, um, I do remember like some funny business when it came to my senses, like what I was feeling. But again, when you don't know, you don't know. And this is why it is so important. Oh, parents, parents, parents. I know parents don't want to hear from people who don't have children, but like honestly, I'm telling you, open your ears and listen to these stories. Anybody who has a platform who is being vulnerable about their story, open your ears. Protect your children, protect your boys, protect your girls. Okay, it is not only girls who need protection out here. The boys need protection too. I have dated several men who have shared with me that their first person was a young girl who was paid to take care of them. That is not acceptable at all. We have to protect our children. All right. So he did this to me. I didn't know how to feel at the time. And in complete transparency, it wasn't until um, it wasn't until my situation that I spoke of, um, I believe 2 videos ago with Kahawia. It wasn't until that situation happened that made me go back. Actually, I dabbled in the thought here and there, but it was something that I was so still very confused about because again, is this struggle of like consent, but also you give this person a line. The consent is not 100%. Like when you give consent, you're not consenting to all the things, you know what I mean? And I think having conversation with whoever you're dealing with is important. Hey, is it okay to go here? Is it okay to go there? Can I do this? As you're in the moment, right? Because you're not a mind reader. You don't know what this person um, is willing to do and not willing to do. You know what I mean? So he knew, because when he did what he did, he definitely looked at me. And I went to the bathroom and I took a long time. I remember being in pain and not really understanding what was going on, taking a mirror to look, seeing, I'm like I can't even wrap my brain around what I saw. I'm like, what is happening? Like, this is crazy. And I took so long that he comes to the door like, are you okay? But like, when somebody knows what they did. And so I'm like, I lied. And I was like, yeah, I'm fine. I'll be right out. And he looks at my face with this look of, is she gonna bring it up? Should I bring it up? And it just never was brought up. So I said it was a thought that I dabbled with here and there, not really knowing how to feel about it. And I really just swept it under a rug for many years until my group and I started reading The Body Keeps the Score. And it wasn't until then, like literally first chapter, I think. I think it was the first chapter. And here I am. And the rug was like, I'm gonna get out of here now. And here's all this mess under the rug. And I'm like, wait, what? And I was almost forced to deal with this. And I'm just like, listen, I welcome dealing with my situations. So it took me quite a while to read that first chapter, because I tend to stop and like whatever it is that is bringing up to my memory, I like to just stop and walk along those thoughts and walk it out and see what's going on. And man, I thought about that day, and I thought about that thing, and I thought about what he did, and I was like, that was a violation. Like, I never had the words. Like I said, I didn't know how to feel. And I'm just like, that was definitely a violation to me. He took something that was not on the table, something that you didn't have to do. You did it. And there wasn't no explanation. There wasn't no questions. There wasn't any accountability. There wasn't no coming forth. There was nothing. There was nothing. And we just started reading this book last year. So I'm just dealing with these emotions last year. And maybe that's why it's taken me so long to record this video. um, but man, I felt such a way last year when I was thinking about this thing. And I, obviously got very emotional. I still feel emotional now because I'm just like, how dare you take advantage of me like this, right? And I'm someone who definitely takes um, uh, accountability for my own actions. And definitely um, at any age, but definitely at 19 or 20 years old, like, why is he over here when your mother's not over here? But we think we grown. It's okay. Listen, I have to say it's okay because it's literally the cycle of almost every single 20 something year old. Like, when we're in our 20s, we really think we know, but we don't know nothing. We don't know nothing. I strongly could sense when my thoughts started to shift from a teenager into young adulthood to, oh man, I'm turning into an adult. Those thoughts of responsibility, or not necessarily because I've been responsible, but maturity, those thoughts of those mature thoughts that adults have didn't really start coming until 27 years old. So, um, anyways, I cried and I let those emotions come out. Obviously, some are still there. Um, and I, man, man, oh man, protect your children is really, I think that's going to be the title of this episode, because it comes down to that for me. It comes down to teaching and protecting. We protect by teaching, like, and we protect by the presence, but we also protect by knowledge. And if you just speak to your children about these things as they come to you, or if you see something going on, if you just have these conversations with them, the chances of it happening, I feel, is limited. But also, if it does, um, there's more of a possibility that they will come to you in in kind of a repentive type of way, right? Like, I did that thing that you told me not to do, and you were right. Like, I should have never done it, but I did it. And now, like, please have space for your children. Like, don't let them go out in this world and just make these mistakes. It's ridiculous. Let it end with you. 'Cause I 100% plan on all the things that I've learned in my life, for those things to end with me. May my children experience things that are going to help them grow that I never had to experience. Okay? I don't want them to ever go through anything that I've already gone through, because that's just ridiculous. Like, I feel like it's ridiculous. I could be wrong. But I feel like there's certain things that's just ridiculous. And then there's also other things, other lessons that are just dangerous, because everybody does not summarize lessons, absorb lessons in the same way. Okay? Absorbing, I'm learning that absorbing lessons is very similar to absorbing nutrients, like eating food. Some of us have dairy tolerance, some of us have gluten tolerance, some of us have alcohol tolerances, some of us have um, certain fruits that we can't eat. Like, the body does not, some of our bodies they just, it doesn't break down things, everything, um in the same manner, you know what I mean? So information is the same way. The body is just, depending on where you are, it depends on how you see it, your perspective, everything that's going on with you. So I honestly think that that's it. Like, there's nothing else to say about this. Um, that I believe I saw him one more time after that, where he was trying to get back into my life, probably hoping that, well, now you can sleep with me. Um, and I um, remember we was just kind of goofing around. He was tickling me and whatnot, and I ended up on the floor and he's on top of me, tickling me. And I looked at that man in his eyes and I just broke. I just started crying. It was crazy. Like I have never, man, I have never in my life, like I'm just like, why? Now I did at the time, not anymore. I noticed that I'm not that way anymore. But when I was a teenager, I really had this issue, and apparently into my early 20s, I really had this issue with looking at people in their eyes. Um, and when it came to relationships, it was, I'm comfortable looking at you in your eyes when everything is good. And then when everything is not good, I'm looking at everything. I'm looking here, I'm looking there, I'm looking at your mouth, I'm looking at your cheek, I'm probably looking at these candles. I'm looking at everything but in your eyes. Because the minute I look at you in your eyes and you hurt my feelings in some way, shape, or manner, like that was it. Like that was it. And so that was the end of that. Um, he ended up, I would say, shortly thereafter, because I do feel like it was shortly thereafter, getting a girlfriend and getting her pregnant. And so, I mean, I don't know how many children he has now. But yeah, that's the story of my experience, my first experience with somebody from a dating site. Um, and I have, I believe, Uh, that's so funny. So I told you the first one, and then the very last one was the one with Kawia. That was the very last dating site that I ever did. So, or the last dating site that I actually ended up speaking to someone and dating them and all of that. So that's it. Protect your children. I have nothing else to say. That, um, again, shout out to the two ladies. That was the best part of that. And you know what? I will say, with this person, that was my first time. Um, he Like I've never really been super emotional around my mom because she had this thing of like, what you crying for, right? And so those emotions always stayed inside and came out when I was by myself. And the first time him and I broke up was when I was inviting him to basically a small group per se, in church, and he was like, "Oh, I knew this was gonna happen," and I'm like, "What you mean you knew this was gonna happen?" He's like, "Oh, I knew you was gonna invite me to church one day," and I'm like, on my profile, I was very clear on my profile about what I'm about, and he was like, "Yeah, well," it was a whole thing where he was just like, he's not going. I think he said he was gonna go, but then he ended up changing his mind, like, "Oh yeah, I'm not going," and it became a whole thing, and we broke up, and it was the first time that I ever went to my mom crying, like, I am devastated that I am not with this person anymore. And I just cried on her stomach. And I remember my mom just praying over me. And it was a really intimate moment. It was like the first intimate moment that I've ever had on that level with my mom, because I've never like cried in front of her. Yeah, right. But that was a deep, deep moment. Um, I also want to add like how unemotionally unavailable he was, even though I've had other folks who were way more. But I remember sharing with this man, because at the time my grandfather was battling prostate cancer. And I remember the second date, I think I was the one who asked if I could take him on a date. We went to this jazz place, and I remember walking down the block to the restaurant and telling him like, we were just sharing like things, and I'm like, oh, something that's really difficult for me is this season that our family is going through, and how difficult it's going to be not having him around anymore. that's going to be really, really devastating. And, I really poured my heart out to him with this. And when my grandfather did pass the following year, on the same day that I met him, I I remember telling him, like, he calls me, I believe he wanted me to go over to Daisy's house. And I was like, yeah, I'm not gonna go. He's like, why? And I told him, and he's like, oh, um, sorry. And then there was a silence, and I'm like, thank you. And then he says, after a bit more silence, he's like, oh, I wish I could be there for you. Now imagine your boyfriend, I don't care how long y'all been together. Imagine your boyfriend telling you, after you've already shared with him how hard this is going to be for you and your family, saying to you, now that it's present day, oh, I wish I could be there for you. Well, what are you doing? Oh, nothing. Just in the house. Not doing much, nothing at all. But you wish that you can be there for me. I I obviously took that as a sign. I was like, yeah, this is over and done with. Like 100%. My grandfather was the sign. Just like he's gone, you shall be gone too. Anyways, all right. Now I'm officially empty. That thing came out. So I will see you next week. Hopefully with more optimism. Deuces. Take care. Have an amazing week.